everyone. Yeah, as Jake said, what?
You have a clicker.
Oh, wow. Shit. So as Jake said, I have to run off and get a tattoo immediately after doing this talk. I will be coming back. So like, I won't be around to talk to right away, but I will be around to talk to you later. So the bit of housekeeping that I was going to do is that usually when I do a talk, I try and humorously work in a picture of a penis somewhere. So the last one I did, it was a magic eye picture. But I couldn't think of a clever way to do it this time, so I'm just going to put a picture of a dick up front. And then, hey! There we go. So yeah, my name is Asbel. I am the junior staff writer. I'm hoping they're going to knock the junior off any day now for videogamer.com. Don't at me. And this is my talk.
So you're done.
That's it. I'm good. That's my talk. So I am the guides writer at Video Gamer as well, and this is all the guides I've written for Dark Souls 3. It was a condition of my job that, it's not even all of them, it's a condition of my job that I get good at Dark Souls, so I had to play the first one and the second one and then write the guides for the third one. So just so you know where I'm coming from, it's not that I can't play these games, I just don't like them, right? Reasons why Dark Souls is bad. It's bullshit clipping that allows enemies to cheat against you. So like, the bosses can like hit you through walls, but you can't hit them. That's bad game design, and if any other game did it, y'all wouldn't put up with it, okay? Highly repetitive gameplay. Beating the game requires some specific steps in admin, so if you ask someone, oh, I'm having trouble with this boss, how do I beat him? They're always like, well, you have to go and get the sword from the other boss, and then level it up enough so that it'll do the right out. Or they go, well, there's a glitch in the game where if you run around the corner at the right time, the boss will freak out, and then you don't. So there's like, you can't even play the game properly. The difficulty is artificially increased by just throwing more stuff in there, not through any kind of like actual good design, in my opinion. It's not even hard in the way people like to say it is. So they're all like, every button press is really important. You shouldn't press a button if you don't mean it because it's really crucial to the game. It's not. I did the whole thing by spamming roll and spamming attack. And my final point, you don't even leave footprints in so when you run over. So it's not a well-made game. But Dark Souls is part of this whole thing. Oh, the other point as well, all of this that they did. We've got a really important Dark Souls announcement. Can I say? And then they just dropped the worst merch I've ever seen in my life, which they stole it off another designer called Ollie Moss, so yeah, that's also bad. So Dark Souls is part of this kind of, it's the example I use, but it's part of this larger thing where like, the quality of a game is linked to its difficulty in some people's minds, which I think is a stupid thing to do. And I've got Star Fox Zero here because when that came out, there was like an announcement that there was going to be a kind of invincible mode to it. Not really a mode, but like basically if you choose the easiest difficulty and you still kind of screw up on a level a few times, then your ship will become invincible and you can just kind of fly through it if you're having a hard time with it. Now most people were okay with this, but some people weren't. I've taken their names off to save them the embarrassment. I refer to the easiest settings in games as Dork Mode or Wimp Mode. And he says that you should get an audible mockery of confirmation of engaging weakling mode. Isn't easy difficulty an oxymoron? Well, maybe kind of. But I don't think that this is a helpful way of looking at it either. It doesn't make you a worse person or your experience playing the game like less worthwhile if you have a different difficulty setting. And games don't always treat the difficulty modes as easy, medium, or hard. And the first example I thought of was the most recent Deus Ex, which instead of saying easy, medium, hard, says tell me a story, give me a challenge, and give me Deus Ex. I did instantly. I know a guy that repeatedly refers to it as Juice Ex. And I try and do that thing where you're like, oh yes, I really like Deus Ex as well. It still doesn't know what it. It even says like you play games for the story and experience, not for the challenge or competitiveness. Like games are more than just being able to complete the game. You know, they have a whole other experience with them as well. And this isn't really a new thing, like Doom, as some people here are familiar with. Didn't have didn't have the whole easy, medium, hard thing either. It's got I'm too young to die. Hey, not too rough. Hurt me plenty. Ultra violence and nightmare. So that again is removing that kind of maybe it's stigma of saying, you know, I had to play a game on easy mode. Someone else in the comments of a story about the vulnerability thing in Star Fox said, you know, these things do intrude on my gameplay. They're a constant temptation that I don't like being present. That's the only comment I have on that. And this is from a write-up of it on a website called geek.com, which acknowledges that Star Fox Zero will also have harder modes, which it did. It had modes that you could add to make the game harder if you wanted more of a challenge that would increase your ship's damage but reduce the damage, reduce your defense so you took more damage in turn, stuff like that. It makes it seem as if being targeted to children instead of people who want a truly challenging game. Heaven forbid that Nintendo should target things at families and children. I mean, my God. But that's a very entitled viewpoint. It's not even taking into account that there are other reasons to reduce the difficulty of the game. It's assuming that everyone who plays video games is like you. It's not taking into account people that maybe have disabilities, that have difficulty with motor control, stuff like that. And it's the same sort of assumption that stops stuff like that makes people complain that there are women or different sexualities or you know, different LGBTQ representations in games as well, because like everyone is like me, and these games are made for me. Someone else said, I don't know why games should be made, but want to play themselves. What's the point? So what if a player struggles? It's the only way they'll get good. Now, get good is quite specifically, is kind of a Dark Souls trope now, which I really, really hate. I really hate it. Because it's kind of like, it's saying that, yeah, your experience is less worthwhile and your opinions on the game don't count if you're not as good at it. A lot of times people say, oh, I didn't really enjoy Dark Souls. People will just say, well, you just need to get good at it, and assume that it's just because you weren't good at playing the game. It's kind of came to a little bit of a moment because Polygon did a little preview and did some gameplay footage of the new Doom. And the guy playing it was kind of bad. I'm not gonna, you know. But there was this thing that, like, if they were bad, like, then they shouldn't be allowed to write a review of the game. And Hip Hop Gamer tweeted that if you're a #game #reviewer, but have no live, raw, unedited footage of you playing the game yourself, everything you say is suspect. I'm not a hip hop woman, so I'm not going to read the homie. But, just as an offshoot, I do like there is a specific skill in being a YouTuber, and it's a different kind of skill, I think, to being a writer. If you're a YouTuber, you do have to be maybe a little bit good at the game, because a lot of the stuff you're doing, we let's plays and stuff like that, and they're not going to be as entertaining maybe if someone's watching you play a game live and you keep dying and keep playing the same bit over and over again. And you also, your reactions are live, they're visible, so if you're a YouTuber, you have to make funny faces. Like, you can kind of all see from that the kind of emotion, the experience that Markiplier. I chose Markiplier because he's the only YouTuber that I'm confident isn't going to turn out to be a sex offender. But if you're a writer, you kind of have to write those faces down, which is a different skill, I think. Dara Bryan, moving back on track now, is an Irish comedian that you probably all heard of. And he likes video games, and he does a bit where he says you cannot be bad at watching a movie and you can't be bad at reading a book, but you can be bad at playing a video game, and the video game will punish you for this and then deny you access to the rest of the game. So if you're reading a book, there's no book that you've been reading that 3 chapters in will say, what are the major themes of the book so far? And if you don't know, will then close itself. And this is kind of, you know, it's to an extent it's true, and it's kind of upsetting to me because I love video games. I love them, and I'm an evangelizer, and I want to share all the experiences of the games I love with everyone. And more people being able to play these games is a good thing. So, like, the quality of a video game is not made better because it's hard. We have Video Gamer has a Facebook group, and there was a discussion recently about the game Gone Home on there. And one guy was like, I didn't like it because it wasn't very hard, and the puzzles to solve were really easy. And I was like, well, it's not really. And then he was like, it almost feels like it was meant to be a horror game, and then like maybe they ran out of money. I was like, you're so close. You're so close, just a little bit further. Bless his heart. So I think like sharing video games and being happy that more people are able to play them is a good thing, because if you love something, you want other people to share in it as well, right? So possible benefits I've worked out. Increase pool of potential friends. I know everyone here will probably have at least one thing in common with, right? It's easy to make small talk at awkward parties, because if more people like games, you'd be like, hey, have you played their new video game? Because right now if you do that, they'll be like, what? But you can say, have you seen their new film? People in general won't think you're weird if you like it, if they like it as well. Because my parents kind of don't understand what I do. And people in general, but if it becomes a more mainstream thing, then more people will be like, understand it. And we don't as well, like, whenever there's like a mass shooting in America, of which there have been many terrible ones, like, it'll say like, and the shooter had an Xbox in his house. And they don't say the shooter had a Netflix account. More cool events and locations in real life. Hey. Went too far. And more potential partners for sexy rumpus time or cuddles, whichever you prefer. Maybe you don't like either, but you know, more potential partners to share your life with. And try to work out possible benefits to closing off your hobby to people. So far I've got smug sense of elitism and superiority, and that's all I got. So if you can think of any more, anyone, shout it out. Any benefits to making your hobby exclusive? No? There you go. Maybe you're just shy, but I couldn't think of any. You know, I think what really I'm trying to say through the medium of hating Dark Souls is that games aren't made better by being difficult, and gaming in general isn't made better by thinking games are better for being difficult. Because if you loved, you know, your hobby, and someone wasn't very good at it, they're not going to want to get back into it and do more of it and maybe improve and try more things if you're telling them to not. I mean, like, if you weren't very good at painting, this guy wouldn't tell you to stop. Aww. And that's my talk.